and it's forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others. And out of anything that I've ever done, I've found this to be the most effective thing and so easy to apply. It's a little bit of a head screw because some of the ideas that I'll present will be quite contrary to mainstream beliefs, but I'm presenting them with a lot of evidence. It's not just something that I've just made up. Like, there's many, many years of research that has gone into these ideas. So firstly, what I found really interesting is there's a lady called Dolores Cannon, and I really invite you to YouTube her. She's passed now. She blew my mind. She did about 50 years of hypnotherapy work. So she started with just like the stop smoking and the lose weight stuff back in the 50s, when before anything was really, really delved into with this. And then she got into past life regressions through accident, through putting somebody under. And then she came up with a technique called quantum healing technique, which I'm actually going to go have done in October. You have to wait a really long time. There's only a few people over the world that still do the technique. I've got to fly to Sydney to get it done. It's like 3 hours you're under for. And they take you below hypnotherapy, so below the alpha level. They take you right down, and she calls it the subconscious mind because there's not really a better term for it. But ideally, now this is a bit that'll challenge you, ideally it's supposed to be you, when you go right down into that level, you're actually talking to your higher self. Okay, so if you want to call that the divine energy, whatever it is, and that higher self, we have a collective consciousness. So that's quite a catchphrase right now. Everyone talks about collective consciousness. You've got Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie. They're all talking about this one mind, but Eastern traditions have been talking about it for centuries. And that's why when, have you have a feeling someone's going to ring and they ring? Or you have your feeling you're going to see someone and you see them? It's because we are connected. We're connected on an energetic level, and that's a quantum physics thing. So we're all made up. We're actually made up of the same stuff as this and this, but we just spin at different frequencies. So Stephen Hawking has this theory that technically we should be able to walk through a wall because it's not solid. I would really like, well, they've done it with atoms, but they haven't done it with a human yet, because we're made up of so many atoms. It's like, it would be so difficult. I would really like to be able to do it.
I had a science teacher in high school.
Yeah.
And I remember him talking about that. He's like, I'm gonna line up, and he would do it every year. And one year and he would run into the wall, and all the kids would be like, "Oh, science is so cool!" And he actually dislocated his shoulder.
Oh no, that's not
good. But the theory was there.
It's the theory, and they have done it. They've proven it now.
Yeah,
exactly right. That's exactly right. So, having said that, that's how we have that collective consciousness. It's the atoms, and it's the vibrations and the frequency and the energy, I guess, that we're all on. So she goes under and she takes people under, and the research spanned over 50 years before she passed away. And the crazy, insane thing was, every person that she took under, now they've recorded this stuff, every person that, she's right into UFOs and conspiracies as well, everyone she took under was saying the same thing, okay? And when she tapped into that higher self, every patient from all different places all over the world for 50 years took on the same voice. Their voice changed. And that's how she knew that she'd connected with the higher self. And she could leave one conversation with one patient and a week later connect in with the QHT therapy and pick it up where she left off. And they knew exactly, they had complete understanding of what she spoke about with that other patient with. Okay, I know this is when I said it's a bit of a head screw. So in those years of therapy and those years of research, what she discovered was the information she was getting from the higher self, or whatever you want to call it, was that a lot of cancers and illnesses are caused through unresolved anger and the unwillingness to forgive yourself and others, particularly areas around the stomach and the digestive area. And that's where our solar plexus and stuff are, where we hold our emotional self. So that's why I think forgiveness is so important. I kind of figured out it was important ages ago, because just by forgiving people when I perhaps didn't want to, big shifts would happen in my life. But there's actually, she did the study. I know it sounds crazy, right? It sounds trippy. Guys, look her up, just Google, just YouTube her. When you watch her and you listen to her, you know she's genuine. You know how you just know with people? Like, she's this little old lady. She started it in the 50s. Like, she was from the military. Her husband, they went from base to base all over the world, and It's crazy. People from all over the world would go to her little office in Arkansas, in America, and they would do this work with her. But the fact that she could take a conversation from one patient, like she could be talking to your higher self, and then a week later I could go in, and they could just pick up the conversation where it left off. Like, that is just crazy. Anyway, it's all recorded. She's written about 25 books
So
on
are
it.
they talking to her specifically? If she could pick up conversations from one person to another person?
Yes, so she, as Dolores, would talk. So her role was to gather information to help people change their life. That was basically her role. She was just a facilitator. So people would go in, like, I've got a list of questions that I want to achieve when I go into my therapy, and the lady who's running it will talk to my higher self about those. And they had situations of healing illnesses like that, because the body is neutral. The body's not designed to be ill. We have every capability in us to be able to heal instantly and to not get sick. But we're all skew-if. We're all off the show. So by bypassing the conscious mind, which we've talked about, the conscious mind wants to be in control because it's a bossy boots and it's annoying. It blocks the subconscious mind from doing its job. So she bypasses the conscious mind because she puts you under so deep beyond any other hypnotherapy that they just go straight to the subconscious mind. So they've done all sorts of healings. Like, it sounds weird. I think they healed someone with a broken leg. I'm not shitting you. Like, you've got to go in and have a look at this stuff. But again, because it's quite new agey, and she did a lot of work with UFOs and aliens, and she linked all Hiroshima bombs in, like all that stuff. When she took people under, they all spoke of it. So like the evidence is there, but because she was kind of a bit like on the outside in America, like she just wasn't, just kind of hushed under. I'm surprised they didn't kill her, to be honest, but anyway. So they do that over there. They totally do.
How did she die?
You know what? She had an accident. And actually, yeah, oh my God, I never thought of that. Shit, I never, because I was like, did she get cancer? Because if she got cancer, this shit doesn't work. That's why I looked it up. But she had an accident. She fell and literally just passed away, like just slipped away in her sleep. Just went, like no illness, nothing, just didn't come out of it. Got knocked unconscious and then just, yeah, exactly, right. Oh my God, that's so true, shit. Okay, so forgiveness. This is such a massive one, guys. A huge part of loving yourself is the ability to be able to forgive yourself. If you can't forgive yourself, you won't be able to love yourself. How many relationships have you had, friendships or, any kind of relationship, siblings, whatever, where someone's done something wrong by you and you just haven't been able to forgive them, so eventually there's been a disintegration of that relationship. So, and it's the same with yourself. It's no different. If you can't forgive yourself, you're never going to be able to come from that place of love. And I want you to know that we all do bad shit. Everyone does stuff they're not proud of. And there's a quote that I had written on my homework diary when I was in year 10 that I stole from Oprah, and I wrote it down, and it stuck with me this whole time. You do what you know, and when you know better, you do better. We would never intentionally do bad things. I honestly believe that. On some level, whenever we do something that maybe turns out not so good, we always have the good intentions at heart. Nobody's maliciously horrible. No one in this room is maliciously horrible. I'm sure we have no sociopaths or psychopaths in here. Like, there's no deliberate, no one harms animals, do they? No, I'm joking. We're all good.
Everyone's looking around like,
yeah.
looking for eye contact.
There's no Jeffrey Dahmers in the room or anything. Well, that's a whole different, oh God, oh man, I've got so many links I've got to send you, Shari. I've got some links to send you.
Okay.
Who here can identify something like right now, just really off the top of your head, that you haven't forgiven yourself for? You have to say it out loud, but there's something that is still there that you know. Yeah. Someone else? I've not forgiven that guy over the road. I'm working on that. Yeah. We all have something. There's always something there on some level, and it's really got to be addressed. So I'm going to tell you a little story, and this is one of my favourite stories, and I did steal it from Eckhart Tolle, but since we're one mind, I don't think of it as stealing. I'm just like picking up on information that I already knew, because he already knew it. So there's these two Buddhist monks, and they're walking to temple, and it's centuries ago, there's no cars, They're in their big gowns, and back then Buddhist monks weren't allowed to talk to women. So they're walking along to temple, and it's a 3-day walk, and all of a sudden torrential rains come and the roads start flooding. And they see this woman all robed up in her like ancient Chinese wear, and she's trying to cross the road and she can't get across, and monks weren't allowed to look at women or speak to them. But anyway, one of these monks saw her, went over, picked her up, carried her across the floodwaters on the road and placed her in safety, said nothing, and they both kept walking. Anyway, 3 days later they turn up at temple, and the monk who didn't pick up the lady turns to the monk who did, and he said, "Why did you pick up that lady? You know we're not allowed to talk to women. We're not allowed to look at them." And he said, "Well, I picked her up, but you're still carrying her." Make sense?
Yeah.
Interesting. What are you still carrying?
Ah.
There's stuff we're all still carrying, whether it's other people, what they've done to us. And I know sometimes people are horrible to you. I'm not denying that, and I'm not trying to undervalue the suffering that you've felt. But the only person we continue to hurt if we hold on to that is ourselves. And why would we want to do that? It's gone. They've gone. The situation's past. But we continue to make ourselves suffer by holding on to that resentment, that anger, and then that manifests into illnesses. Yeah? So I would like you to, we've got a little section there. Who are you still carrying? So an issue against yourself, and then something with others.
Can it be a situation that you're still carrying? You can't get past a situation.
Of course.
person?
Yeah. Of course. There'll be resistance with this, because if it was quite traumatic, you won't want to let it go. And that's okay. That's when I've got some tools and techniques that we're going to look into today that you can use until you're ready to forgive.
Yeah, but I keep telling myself that, it doesn't matter. It's past, it's past. I always sort of go, like, bundle it up, get rid of it. Don't think about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of, I can't think
Do you
of
think
anything.
is it still causing you suffering, or maybe you have let it go?
Actually, yeah, I'm still angry.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm
it's
still angry.
got some work to do.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's funny, it's so easy for me to I can think of like 20 of them about me. Do you know what I mean? But then with others, I'm like, oh, I'm okay with that.
Isn't it funny how we're
Like,
so
they didn't
kind
mean
to
it,
others?
or-
Yeah.
Oh, it's just when we were younger, or, you know what I mean? Like, but I could list easily 20 about myself.
It's so interesting. I think most of
Yeah,
us are the
people are.
same.
Have you got a spare pen to borrow? This one's, anyone got this one's
Anyone got a
done the,
Would you
Good.
need this one? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
have you, oh, thanks. Thank you.
So who feels resistance when they write down the forgiveness stuff? Like that they just don't want to. It's cool. That's totally cool. That's
I don't know
totally
how
normal.
you can forgive. Like, is forgiveness sort of like saying, yeah, look, that was okay. You can treat me like that.
No, you're not forgiving them for them. You're forgiving them for you. You want to break that tie. You want to free. What you'll notice when you do this work is when you do truly forgive someone, there's an energetic release in the body. The body will move. You feel lighter. Because we are energy. Feelings are energy. So when we have unresolved emotions that are in us, we're carrying that around. You're literally carrying an energetic, metaphorical lady for every person that's upset you that you're not willing to let go. Because we're not condoning someone else, but we're going, that's your issue, and I'm choosing not to carry that anymore. I release that. I'm releasing you, and I release that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yep.
It's interesting when you're able to let that go, because I have felt that being lighter.
Yes.
But then you relay that story, because you're just saying a story, maybe to help the next person.
Yeah.
and they feel the injustice that you've been through,
Yeah.
and they go, how can you forgive that person? And I went, well, I don't know, I just did. But they have it for me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why do they do that?
It's kindness. People think that they're
Empathy.
yeah, it's an
They might
empathetic
not
thing.
feel it to the depth that you feel it, but
Yeah.
they obviously get frustrated. They probably wouldn't hold on to it for as long as you hold on to it. They have
Yeah.
probably a moment of going, that sucks, but then they'll probably, because it's not their life, their situation, it's to the point where they probably will forget about it.
Yes.
And it's not in their
Psyche or whatever. Yeah.
It takes. I know it sounds like I'm really horrible. I've worked really hard on not doing that anymore, because by doing that, you're not helpful. So remember I told you it's about if you break your leg, there's two people you want. You don't want the person who fusses and says, I feel your pain, oh my god, it's so horrible, oh my god, how could that happen, how could you do that? You want the person with the phone who's going to go, can I have an ambulance please? You're going to serve someone much better if you can be objective and be a witness. You're like, and just I understand that must have been awful for you. Wow, I'm so glad that you've moved on from that. Like, I'm really proud of you. Like, that's a far better place to be than dragging them back into, not saying you're doing that, but if you're listening to someone else's drama, see it as something separate from you, like by actually buying into that, which we kind of are taught as women. You know how we get labelled as gossipers? Remember Esme Watson from Country Practice? I love that show. But like, that's kind of the label we're given, and it's kind of what happens, but it doesn't serve anyone because you're buying into, and at the end of the day, it's perception, isn't it? It's their perception. There's always two sides to a story. It's just how deep's a rabbit hole, basically. How deep is the rabbit hole? I don't want to go too deep on that, or we'll be here forever. So, anyone want to share anything? I feel like this is like week 5, so if you feel like you want to share, there's no pressure ever to share, but an experience perhaps that you've forgiven and you have felt freer.
I don't have that, but it's difficult for me because my parents broke up about 5 years ago, and my mum blamed me for the divorce, and I have worked through that. Like, I went to counselling and we did all the stuff, and I did feel better after it, but it still comes up because there's things like just the other day when we had like a ceremony for my brother, and my dad and mum went, and my dad's now girlfriend, and there was just so resentment. She was texting my dad, abusing him and stuff like that, and then it comes up again, and I think, oh, I thought I've dealt with this, but it's a recurring kind of situation, and I don't know if it's ever going to bloody
So
end.
intellectually, you've made peace, but probably with your heart, you haven't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and that's the next step, like actually feeling the forgiveness.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do stuff in psychology where they get you to be the other person,
Okay.
to gain empathy, to make peace with their actions. If that
Yeah.
makes sense, you can understand why she's the way she is.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the triggers will never go, but what will happen is it'll come up. She might act a certain way that normally would make you feel really down, but the thought will come to judge it to make you feel down, but the feeling won't follow, so it won't
Okay.
affect you anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it's almost like it's not quite there yet,
No.
but you understand that's where you need to go.
Yeah.
The second one here, I can't say it. I've done this practice for about 7 years and I still don't know how to say it. Ho'oponopono. Anyone know how to say this? That will be really helpful for you.
Okay.
And I suggest that you do that if
Okay.
you can every day
Okay.
for a week, and they'll be just thinking of your mum and that situation, and you'll be maybe that could be your homework, specifically that, and just see, like, put yourself in a situation at the end of the 7 days with something that would normally trigger you,
Yeah.
and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I had
Interesting.
that Ho'oponopono thingy on my. Someone else gave me that
Yeah.
6 months ago,
So good.
and I've got it in a bright pink piece of paper in my
Cool.
bedroom on the wall,
That's
so that
cool.
I see it every night before I go to bed, because
Yeah.
I have the same forgiveness of self as what my
Yeah.
issue is.
Yeah.
Other people I can forgive really easily, but
Yeah.
forgiving myself I find really difficult.
It's really good. They have on YouTube. They just have like meditations with it, and that saying is just running through the back of the music. I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you, over and over and over again. And I found that really useful. So when I was first starting, I'd just think of the situation that upset me and I'd just have that and I'd just hold the person in my mind as that was running. So if you want to ever do that when you go to sleep, that's when I used to do it just before I went to bed.
Yeah.
Because then the alpha brain waves kick in and you're in a really open state.
Yeah.
That's so it's, you're not gonna, intellectually, you're gonna get it right. You know you're gonna forgive, but then it's taking it deeper, and that's what these tools do. To be honest, I would probably start with number 2 for everybody, because with this technique, you don't need to believe it yet. The first technique, the karma contract, that's probably quite intellectual and it might be a little harder. You kind of do need to believe that for it to work. But if we do the Hawaiian teaching, you don't have to believe it to start with. You'll believe it over time and you'll feel the body releasing as you do it. It's definitely, because what happens is, what's tying you down to it is the unresolved feelings. So intellectually we get it, right? I can understand this on a psychological level, but that hasn't moved any of the shit that you're still carrying in here, has it? So then when something happens to trigger you, well, that stuff ruptures up. Because it's not gone, it's still there.
Yeah.
Whereas this helps it move through. Make sense? Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, so
She used the technique of Byron Katie about, you know, is that true? So if the mum's saying that situation, you know, it's your fault.
I realise now that it's not my fault,
Yeah,
but
this is her.
I struggle to forgive her when it comes up again. For
it's
what
still
she did.
intellectual. So the thing with Byron Katie is it's still very up here. So we need to move past that, because it's the law of cause and effect. Everything we think will create a feeling, which if not carried through, will live in our body. And every time you get a trigger, it'll reopen like a sore. So for most of us, some of us can just do the intellectual one. I couldn't. I had too much pain and suffering like in my body I couldn't just think it out. It's like going, the weeds are gone, and I haven't gone out and done the gardening. I had to let it go through. So this combined with Byron Katie is, I believe, the best, because you got both. You got this and you got the heart and the body, because you got to let it go. Who feels when you're triggered? Who feels it's like a sore that reopens? It's like painful, isn't it? It's like, oh. And yeah, I feel that for you though, like Byron Katie really resonates with you, so that might be all you need. That might actually just work for you.
I do that, and then it's similar situation. It's like I've been emotional before I walked into that.
Yeah.
Oh, right. But it's like the past. I can separate myself from the people that cause the issues. But because I've got my daughter and our presence now, it's still a good one, but it's not as good as it would have been if they weren't contributing. So it's always that little pullback. Yeah, like financially, things like that. Because my husband passed away when he was 46, and then they had a family business, and I had worked really hard and saved and bought houses, things like that, and I sold all that and helped to their family business, but they never acted like we had done anything. They still wanted more. It was like more. So then we did everything we could, come back here with nothing, and then we just thought, right, we were always positive, always like, yeah, we can work, we're healthy, we'll keep on going. And then he got sick, and they just act like we've done nothing. You know, like we had never contributed anything. So it's always like, so I'm still that positive person. I'm still like, yep, I work, I'm rebuilding our lives. And then there's just that, you know, if my daughter needs something, it's always like,
You need to forgive. That's
yes,
yours.
I can't do that because they did that. Yeah, so I've got to let go of that.
You got to, because in reality, and this is going to sound like I'm a meanie pants, but in reality, you don't truly know what would have been.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't actually know. It could have been
Yeah.
way worse if
Yeah.
he was here. We don't know.
Yes.
But holding on to the idea that it would be any other way
Yeah.
is causing you suffering. You need to let that go.
Yeah. I feel like I do, so I come here.
Sorry. sorry. So sorry. But I want that to be your forgiveness homework. Them and you. Because I feel like you're angry a little at
and that's
yourself
what I was
as
like,
well.
Between the children,
Yeah.
I'm like, which one do I do?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
So the important thing, and you just really illustrated that for me, thank you for reminding me, is that when we go through this, is if you feel angry or sad and you want to cry while you're doing it, do it.
Yeah.
Because we can separate ourselves so well from our feelings, but that's not going to help them move out. That's going to keep us up here. So while you're doing it, like when I was thinking about my dad when I was doing this, like I was crying and like I would sob, but I'd keep saying the words and I'd be sobbing and sobbing, but it helped me. Anything that I didn't let go of in that moment in time where he was that way to me, it helped me move through it, because I didn't do it at the time because I was too afraid to feel anything, and I was a kid, I didn't understand emotions, so I didn't have a chance to facilitate them. But when you're going through this and it almost brings you back to that moment and that situation with the person, you have an opportunity to facilitate those emotions that are blocked that you didn't at the time, and that's why it moves out and you feel lighter. Does that make sense? Oh, this stuff's real. I feel raw just talking about it. Ooh. Okay. Let's just start with the second one, okay? So let me give you a little bit of intellectual background. So the conscious mind who's probably sitting there going, this is bullshit, it won't work. So it has something to back it up on. So this is an ancient Hawaiian teaching. There was a doctor, a psychiatric doctor, who was the head of a mental jail. What do you call that? Asylum, right? An asylum. I should know that. So an asylum back in the 70s, and he discovered this work because it was handed down to him like it's part of their culture. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to try this on my patients. The beautiful thing about it is the person that's done wrong, or the person that needs healing, which is what you're doing by forgiving someone, you're healing them as well as yourself. They don't need to be there. Okay, and that's because we're one mind. So they're feeling the effects. Now what happened was, you can read this study. I'll post the link of it. It's, again, a scientific study. He got out each patient's file, and he sat with their photo and their file, and he did it. And he basically just went, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you. So on their behalf, he worked the forgiveness. He was forgiving them for their wrongdoings. These were some pretty messed up, awful people, like awful people. So he worked on forgiving them through that, rather than sitting down and having one-on-one therapy. And I think he did it for almost, it could have been a couple of years. You'll have to read the study. But the profound transformations it made on the patients or the prisoners was like, nobody could believe it. Everyone thought it was a load of crap. Like, it transformed them. The power of forgiveness.
Were the prisoners aware that that was what he
No,
was doing?
no one knew. No, he researched and documented it himself.
Mhm.
There's another guy called Joe Vitale. Have you heard him from The Secret? He's like this little American Jewish guy. He was like homeless, and then anyway, he studied with the doctor. The doctor's name is just completely beneath him. But he gives a lot of talks. He travels around the world now, giving talks about his experience and what happened. There's a lot of people that do this for you on your behalf, like healers and stuff. But I believe that you should just do it yourself. Like, you can do it every day. I want you to think of something before you're going to sleep. Play a YouTube clip. I have a couple that I like. I can post the links. And you think of that person you hold in your mind. You will be a mess, but you need to break down and let it out. Does that make sense? It's part of the process of forgiving yourself, is to feel it and then let it go. Questions?
Are we forgiving ourselves for the way we felt about the situation? You know,
You could do that
as
if
an
you want.
example, my mum is really horrible to me, and she has been all her life in
Mhm.
certain ways.
Yep.
And I just accepted mum is who mum is, and I know that, so I keep my distance from her. But
Yep.
when I do go visit, she'll say something quite hurtful, and it comes back up again. So am I forgiving her for her behaviour, or am I forgiving myself the way I react to her behaviour?
What causes you the most suffering?
Getting upset.
And that's
That's the trigger.
wonderful. You've just led me into the next part, which is the contracts, the karma contracts. Okay, so now I I hate saying this kind of stuff in front of people because I think that you guys are going to think I'm completely crazy. But we've been coming for a while now, so you probably already have made that assumption if you're going to make it anyway. So, I don't mean to challenge anyone. This is again from Dolores Cannon, from her years of study and talking. She specialised in the quantum healing therapy and past life regression. So, basically what happens before we're born or when we die is that we kind of have a recap of what we've achieved and what we haven't achieved. And they say that we make soul contracts with people. So everyone that comes into your life is there for a reason and they're there for a lesson. And if we don't learn that lesson in that particular relationship, we'll just get born again into a similar situation until that lesson is learned. And in order to identify that karma contract and let it go, so your mum and you have this relationship for a reason. It's something that you decided it was going to be. We pick everything. They say we pick our partners, we pick our family, we pick our looks, we pick our issues. So whatever is our biggest issue with our darker self, we pick that to be our problem when we're born. But the beautiful thing is we forget everything when we're born, and our whole purpose, this is from her work, I'm not making this up, this is what over 50 years from talking to higher selves and past lives, this is the research that came up with. We forget when we're born, and our whole purpose is to remember. But if you're aware that that's what it is, and you know that there's karma contracts, you can release them. And you can do that, but you have to forgive them, like seriously. You can't just say you're going to forgive them and then because it won't work. Dolores, if you look it up on YouTube, Dolores Cannon forgiveness or karma, she's got a whole thing on there about it. You literally just say, I release you, I no longer want this tie, you are free and I forgive you. And if that's done properly, they can't press your buttons anymore. The lessons
I
learned.
with somebody else and it was quite amazing.
It's insane, isn't it?
And it was instant. I did with an ex-partner, and we had such a connection that if he was thinking about me, pictures would fall off the wall, and I'd know he was thinking about me, therefore I'd be thinking about him, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I actually went into a meditation and cut the cord.
Perfect.
So I cut
Pretty
the
much
cord
the same
and
thing.
I saw it expand back,
Yeah.
and I have never felt that again. And it was really freeing, it was amazing. So I need to do a similar thing with my mum. Harder with my mum because she's my mum.
Well, there's years of it, years and years. Yeah, that's the thing.
And
Like,
that's the thing, it's like you can cut because they're no longer part of you, but they're always my dad.
No, it's not easy because it's like she's my mum and you're supposed to love your mum and
but you can love someone and not like them.
true.
Does that make sense? Like, I love everybody, but there's some people that do some pretty fucked up shit in the world that I pretty much don't like very much because they're meanies, but like, I still love them. I love them on a soul level. Because at a soul level, they're still pure. They've just picked up nasty personalities and in certain situations that have caused them to do bad things, but I love them on a heart-to-heart level.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We don't have to like the meat suit. We're all in meat suits, you know? Ram Dass said, treat everyone that you meet like God in drag. So essentially we're all pure. We just pick up all this bad shit along the way depending on what we decided we needed to learn before birth. Now the thing is, if you don't learn it, you're coming back to do it again. Do you want to do that? No. I don't want to have to go through this shit again. I want it gone. Which is what helped me forgive my dad. Because I was like, he's gone, so he's not around anymore. I still have triggers because the people who played a part in our is still there. And you know, he's still around, but I want to be free. I want to be happy. So it's not worth holding on to anymore. It's just not. Like, it's affecting
I
me.
get up here. Sorry, I'm going to cry.
No,
It's
please.
like everything with me, I get it up here, but it's so hard for me here.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't live near me, and I had said to him what buttons he pushes and why I can't have him stay in my house because he stresses me and it stresses my whole family. It's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
But he will call me and I'll see my reaction when I see his name on my phone is, what do I'm like, he's my dad and I love him because he's my dad and I would always want to talk to him and do that sort of stuff, but I just get that, I just can't do it. And then I feel guilty if I leave it and don't answer it. It's just big. And I know it up here, but I struggle with it.
That's your forgiveness work.
No,
You got to forgive yourself.
I haven't even got to it.
But you know what? You got the rest of your life. It's a process.
Yeah, but it's. I feel like it's. Shit, I'm just about to turn 50, and it's like it's been 50 years already, and so many other things are getting. I'm getting so much better, and I believe my relationships with my family are changing, and people are commenting that I'm, I'm cutting down barriers because I put up a real tough, even though I didn't ball my eyes out all the time, I put up a real, I'm tough, I can do anything, handle anything, but inside I melt.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just how long is it going to take?
Well,
This might help because
this-
it's a deeper level. But
It will definitely
I know
help.
it here, but here is really hard.
You just have to make a decision that this is it. I'm going to change it. It doesn't matter if it's been 50, 60, 70. It could potentially be another 50 years if you don't make that commitment right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
You're only hurting yourself, because the problem is when people affect us on that level, it kind of never affects them. That's what's so annoying. They're like wandering around. Like, I'm sure my dad's like spiriting it around, like just having a great old ghosty time, but it hasn't affected him. But we're only hurting ourselves.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This is tough me talking. If I get tough. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many years. It doesn't matter what's happened. It doesn't matter how hard we tell ourselves it is. It doesn't matter the story we tell ourselves as to why we can't do something or why we can. It's irrelevant. Let it go. If you want to change, change. That's it. Because the mind will go, oh, but this and that. Fuck that. Change. Be disciplined with your mind. Don't go into that story, because once you go into that story, you're going to go steam training down all the reasons why it can't happen again. And guess what's going to happen? The same cycle over and over and over again. Does that make sense? It doesn't matter what's happened. Man, I have been a horrible human being in my life. I've done some horrible stuff. We all have, I'm sure, on some level to us. Yeah? But if I dwell on that and I create a story around that, I'm not going to be able to move forward. And I'm not going to be able to help people. I've just got to let it go. It's done. I did all this work though. That was really not very nice. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It sucks. Sorry. It's not nice, but you got to get through it. It's like you're standing on the edge of like the Ganges. Is that a pretty dirty river? Or the Mississippi. Isn't that the most polluted river in the world? Yeah, standing on the edge, and on the other side is utopia. And you got to get through that shit first. Right now we're wading through the shit. Some of you might be knee deep, some of you might be ankle deep, some of you might be up to here swimming, but it's there. The fact that you're here, you're so close. You're so close. But by continuing to justify why we are where we are, we're not going to move forward. Okay, we're here. It's happened for whatever reason. Doesn't matter what the reason is, but I've now got to commit to changing it now. Does that make sense? Why we are the way we are actually doesn't matter. It's what we do now that matters.
I think it's really funny that you have to get to a point where it's too hard to stay the same.
Yes.
Because if you don't get to that point, you will never change.
Exactly
And
right.
so you'll keep doing it again until you get to the point, and this is what happened to me. I got to the point where I just couldn't handle being the same person or being in the same relationship that I was in. I had no choice then.
Yeah.
So you have to get to that point where
Exactly.
you absolutely have no choice but to do something
Exactly.
different. And then
Exactly.
only then will you be able to change.
So
But
true.
for everybody, that's going to be different. Like that point is going to be
Different trigger points. Different trigger points. I believe you can create that trigger point, and that's why the Dickens technique is really good. You know, when you imagined what your life would be like if you didn't change? Yeah, that's a good trigger. So every time you start to think, I'm going to slip back in, because it's comfortable not to change, even though it sucks, right? Because it's familiar. Yeah? But if you go, hang on a minute, it's familiar now, but what's my life going to look like in 10 years if I don't change? Holy shit. Where's that forgiveness work? Where's Dolores Cannon on YouTube? Let me have a look. Carve out 15 minutes a day and do this stuff. If you don't, if you don't commit to it, I guarantee you, in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, it will look like that Dickens technique that we did that you don't want to happen. That's the reality of it. It's so easy to just put your blinkers on. But the truth is, if you don't change, nothing is going to change. Does that make sense? I know I sound really mean.
There's such a small percentage of people who will actually make that change, I believe, because I see people who are in pain, probably like you see a lot of it as well, that you know if they just make one change or just do one thing that you're telling them to do, even if they don't believe it, it will work, but they refuse to do it because either they're scared to change and they're comfortable in what they're doing, or it's too hard.
Well, they keep saying the story.
That's
it's the
right.
story.
So they just stay. And I have so many people in my life that will never change. They'll always be the same, and they'll always continue to blame everybody else for all of their problems. But it's funny that you have to get to a certain point. I think that you just can't be that person anymore. You've just absolutely got to step off the edge.
The fact that everyone is here means that on a subconscious level you want to change. You wouldn't be here week after week. It's just the next step now, just pushing you off the cliff. And what you've got to remember is you can give yourself a helping hand by using the techniques like the Dickens. Get real with yourself. Get real. Like, even if 80% of your life you're happy with, but that 20% that's not is really making you miserable, you just have better. Dickens it. Dickens everything. It'll scare you. You're right. It's, as human beings, we will do anything to avoid pain and gain pleasure. But if there's two painful outcomes, the stupid thing about our head is it will go for the least painful. We won't seek anything pleasurable. We'll just settle into a comfortable pain, even though it's painful because it's less painful than the other one. Does that make sense? So, but now I'm off on a tangent. There's a threefold system. You're here, so in my opinion, you want to change. Now, you might not change during these 8 weeks. You might change in 8 months. You might change in 8 years. But what you learn here will give you the tools that you need to change. First, you've got to question your reality. You know the beliefs about yourself that you believe is not real. Okay? You know that. We've ascertained that. You still don't want to believe it maybe sometimes, but it's the truth. Question your thoughts. Forgive yourself. And every single time you go to justify your position or your reasoning behind staying in a situation you're not happy about, bloody clip yourself over the head. Yeah? I gave Cameron permission when I used to do it to come up to me and go, "Demon, be gone." So every time I went to start going into a story, he'd literally just slap me in the middle of the forehead and go, "Demon, be gone." But it broke my pattern. Yeah, every time it broke, because I was about to go off on a big tangent. I'm a writer. I'm excellent at making up stories. Holy crap balls, I can make up the most amazing story as to why I was the way I was and justify it on every level possible. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're here right now. You have the tools, change it. But you've got to take action on it. You've got to take action. And if you're not quite there, like if you're not quite hurting enough, make yourself hurt. Think about the outcomes.
What about, you want to change, like I want to change, and I've joined this group for the 8 week challenge, and for 3 weeks I've been out of action.
Mm-hmm.
So first 2 weeks I had an operation
Yep.
to recover, which was
Yep.
fine. Now I've stuffed up my neck and I'm like, I want to get back into it,
Mhm.
but my body's telling me, no, you can't do it, and it's frustrating the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, am I self-sabotaging myself? What is going on?
Mhm.
Because I don't get it. Up until this point I was working so hard,
Mm-hmm.
and now I can't, I just physically can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
doing my diet, food and everything,
Mhm.
but I'm kicking myself because I haven't been to class for 4 weeks, and I'm like, seriously.
So I can tell you exactly what it is. You're going to hate me. It's the need to know. Just let it go. Accept it is what it is. Shift your focus on what you can do. And I guarantee you, the minute you let it go, you will get better really quickly. But it's that need, that desperate need, and it's called paralysis analysis. And I do it, and I did it for so long, and I stayed in the same spot. I didn't move because I was so intrigued in wanting to know why, that I held on so tightly to it that I kept creating the thing that I didn't want to happen. Does that make sense? Just let it go. It is what it is. Can you change it?
No.
And it's frustrating. Acknowledge the frustration, but there's nothing you can do about it. Let it go.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do. Is it hard to do because we tell ourselves it's hard to do, or is it hard to do because it's hard to do?
It's hard to do because it's hard to do.
Could you write down the things you are doing?
Find something else to do.
But, you know, the stuff that you do, you just say, you know, well, I ate like this today and I didn't do this and I didn't
Think of the positives
think of the
rather than
positives.
Focus on what you can do.
Yes.
And just come to class and do what you
Yeah.
Or even like go for a walk.
Yeah, I was about to say walking.
You're still
So
doing,
you can walk.
Good.
yeah, that's still, you're still moving your body, you're still being active.
A similar
That's a good thing.
happened to me. I've in the 8-week challenge. I've been
Your
doing
poor
it in about
sinusitis.
4 or 3 weeks. I get chronic sinusitis, and I had a feeling it would happen at the beginning of the challenge, and it did. And then it developed into bronchitis, and then I was in hospital. And so I had that, and then past injuries have flared up as well. Like I had broke my leg 18 months ago, and I fractured my back, and then I twisted my ankle the other week. So it's a very similar thing, and all these hurdles kept coming up, and it was very, very frustrating. I feel exactly what you're saying, and yeah, I accepted that I couldn't change it. Like my body was just doing this, and then I did just start going back to class. It was really hard. Even last night I felt so embarrassed at class, but I just have to say to each trainer, I can't do this, I can't do that, can you give me an alternative?
Yeah.
And like Mel in particular is great, like in classes. No, honestly, he doesn't make me feel like the retard that I feel that I am. And so, and that's a big step for me as well. And then when little by little, and I did 5 nights this week, which I haven't done, this is the first time, or in the, third to last week of the challenge, but hey. So, like your body will come with you. It will just...
Yeah. And you need progress. So the human mind, what is it, the 6 human needs, one of them basically in one shape or form is it needing to move forward. Constantly be moving forward. So because you're focusing on what's not happening, you're failing to see what is actually moving forward. Does that make sense? So if you shift your focus on what you can do, the brain will go, oh, I still am making progress. Okay. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah.
So it's about shifting the focus, because if we focus on the thing that's causing us suffering, well, what's it going to do to us?
Make you feel like this.
Have a list of what you can and can't do. So you say like
Yes.
with them, you can't squat or whatever. That could be even a little goal. So when I get back to class, I can't squat jump that. I'll do this instead, or I don't know.
It's your neck, isn't it?
alternative.
Your neck, yeah. Such a precarious thing as well. Like it's something you have to be so mindful of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Focus on what you can do.
looking after your body, that's a good thing you're doing.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
That's
So that's a positive.
That's
Well, I'm
positive.
looking
You're
at it
looking
as a
after your
negative.
body. Like Virginia said, you're walking, I'm doing, yeah.
Can I say something really weird as well? Sometimes both of you, if this happens to you guys, check in with your inner child.
Okay.
I know it sounds random, but so my inner child, with my dad being not very nice, I was always convinced that I was going to fail. So I would manifest injuries or sicknesses or illnesses anytime I was about to compete or do anything that was going to put me at test where I could potentially fail. So now when that happens, like it happened this week because I've started doing something I really love and I paid all this money to join up and I was ready to go. All of a sudden I woke up with the flu and I was like, hang on a fucking minute. This is little Kate. Anyway, sat down, had a conversation with my inner child. Today I woke up, it's gone. It's just sometimes that, because the inner child plays a big part in our life, so just touch base and go, well, because if you have that need to know, if you let it go and it doesn't go, okay, well, there's nothing to worry about. Nicola, it's okay, I've got this.
So
Adult
that makes
Nicola.
sense because with my mother, because I was going to do the Spartan race,
Yeah.
and I went, I'm going to get back into it. I had my
Yeah.
2 weeks. I had to have those 2 weeks off, fine. And then I pulled my neck muscle, and my mother would always say to me, "You can't do that."
Bingo.
Yeah.
There you go.
And when she wasn't around, I could do it, but
Yeah.
I couldn't do it with her. So that is, I'm not subconsciously, I'm listening to that.
Yeah.
I think.
Have a chat to your inner child.
Yeah.
Yeah, my inner child would tuck tantrums every time I'd go for a long run. Like I would cry. Mel seen me. I'd cry and and I was like, little Kate, it's okay. You're not a little kid anymore. You're not a gunner. Little Kate, it's all right. Don't worry. All that stuff your dad said, it's not true. You've proved that. It's okay. Relax, and then I'll be fine, and off I go. But it took me a while because the inner child doesn't want you to get hurt. It's trying to protect you. Yeah, because it suffered. So if you acknowledge it and go, yo, I got this. It's all good, and then she'll be cool. Yeah. So that's something if it comes up. So maybe something for you to look at as well. With your dad. Anything to do with parents and growing up, there will be some inner child trauma or pain. Acknowledging the inner child will generally make her chill. Yeah, and I put Sam Vad's details, didn't I, in the group? Anyone wants to do any inner child work? He does it via Skype. He's very good. I only had one session with him and I was like fixed.
I think another thing which helps also, even if there are physical injuries or illness which are, inhibiting your progress, is also the mindset, obviously, like you say, where your thoughts go, the energy goes.
Yeah.
And that's very, very powerful. Also, what you allow in from others and external influences as well, and how that can manifest in your body. Not just, I don't mean that the deeper inner child past stuff, because that is, a very deeply entrenched thing, but just little triggers along the way.
Other people's doubts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which probably triggers the inner child, to be
Yes.
honest. So.
And I found that in a strange situation last night, and I was very surprised at my reaction. One of my housemates had said to me, "Oh, why would you even attempt the 8-week challenge? It's not like you could succeed with that." And I was like, oh. And I just I let it go because I was like, all right. And then last night, she said something about how I wouldn't be able to go for the next 3 weeks without having any alcohol. And I was like, actually, I think I've got this. And her mother is staying with us at the moment, which is just, it's quite problematic. But her mother was telling all these horrible stories of how she was abused and by her husband, and then how my housemate suffered as a child and would lock herself in a cupboard over these very triggering things which were quite inappropriate to our house sort of setting. And although she was telling me things which usually, because I'm a criminal lawyer, I hear on a regular basis, I can say, really distressing things in court and see distressing things. But last night something was triggered in me. I think it was my inner child, because it was my housemate and her mother, so it was a mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
I started sweating profusely. I was shaking. I couldn't hold my phone, and I was like, okay. And I know that when I get triggered like that, that will then, in time, a couple of days, manifest usually in a sinus infection. Now I'll be back on that train.
Yeah.
And I just noticed that all last night, and I thought, right, I'm leaving the room and I'm going to go talk to my inner child and let this go, because I'll be fucked if I'm getting another sinus infection. So that stuff, even if you are, I just mean to raise the point that even if you are really dealing with the inner child stuff and the positive outlook, just to kind of be aware of the little triggers.
Well, you've got to be protective of who you spend your time with.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful. I mean, I was thinking this is my house and I would actually like you to leave. But yeah, that's but any little trigger like that, I've found through these classes and what we've discussed, that's really helped.
Good.
The mental focus, and
Yeah.
the body seems to be following.
That's good. That's good.
So-
Well, you're just knowing you're catching it early enough now before it
Yeah.
manifests into something
Which
physical,
it's
which is
the first
excellent.
time in my life that I've
That's
been
awesome.
able to do that.
Yay! Woohoo! That's wicked. That's exciting. Awesome. Okay, guys, I think. Wow, time goes so quickly. Whoa. Okay, any questions? Is everyone clear on their homework? Forgiveness brought up a few triggers, didn't it? You know that I know this is what I want you to think of when you're going through this. You're not condoning the other person's behaviour at all. You're literally freeing yourself so you can have the life you deserve. This is for you, not for them. You're forgiving them for you. do you see them as separate or
Yeah, I
or
do.
one?
Yeah, I do.
What-
'Cause I'm kind of with you on the everyone's got a good soul.
Yeah, perfect. Well, then their behaviours. Yeah,
Yeah.
do that. If you can see them as separate, then do their
I
behaviours.
work with
Yeah.
kids and that's why I think that's
Yeah,
too.
yeah. They're not born.
Yeah.
They're not born evil.
Yeah.
Definitely not. No.
What if on some level, okay, because all I can think about is this, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I used to be a competitive swimmer, and I was the chubby one, of course, right? And my swim coach,
We're not doing that anymore.
oh yes,
Yeah.
no, well, but I was very fast.
Be gone, Tim.
Be gone, Tim. I was really fast, and I was really good at flip turns, just throwing it out. But my swim coach, he one day, because there was like these 2 levels, and I could never get up to the other level because I wasn't fast enough. And one day he duct taped. They had these bricks that you drop in the pool for lifeguards to retrieve.
Yeah.
And he duct taped it to my back and told me to swim across the pool. And it was like we're talking to probably 10, 20 pound. I was probably like 12 at the time. So I jumped in, made it halfway, almost drowned, came back, was coughing, and I just remember just watching all the other swimmers on my swim team watching me like this. And you could tell all of them, like, should we be saving her right now? Like,
That way I understand that. Like, Jesus Christ, like that would
Yeah.
be pretty shit. But he still didn't need to treat me like that. I was a kid.
Yeah.
You're a kid.
yeah, yeah,
Like you didn't need to like nearly drown in front of
Yeah,
your whole
yeah.
swim team.
Yeah,
Like with a
yeah.
brick strapped to your back.
yeah,
So
Maybe
yeah.
it's that pull apart, like you were saying, the difference between do you forgive the person or their behaviour,
Yeah.
maybe you need to pull
Forgive
those
the behaviour.
secrets
Yeah,
and
yeah.
go, you know what, you as a person, yeah, okay, but,
Yeah.
and your behaviour is shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Choice on that day, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's archaic kind of
Mm.
training techniques.
Yeah, I know. And but then you know what I always thought too? I was like, oh, you know what? Like he saw me as someone who could achieve getting into that other group.
Can I just say,
and that's why he
stop,
was doing that.
stop
He was trying to
justifying
help
people
me.
treating you badly.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I want to throw this at you.
I know.
It's an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
stop,
yeah.
stop. You're justifying somebody's behaviour badly towards yourself.
Yeah.
You don't deserve to be treated that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one does.
And that's not
I think
necessarily
that's what I
true
always do.
either.
Yeah.
I think that's why I can't find
Yeah.
anyone else to
Yeah, that's
target forgiveness at except
You
myself.
know what it comes, because my chant is, and the problem I have is I am worthy,
Yeah.
and that's, yeah, you don't deserve to be spoken to
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I am worthy, I am a nice person.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
what
you
I
are
really
not,
should have said is
you know?
fat floats, honey.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Jennifer Riley, the Australian medley swimmer, 400 metre medley, and she was massive. Like, I shouldn't say that, but compared to a lot of the other
Yeah.
swimmers in that team, and
Yeah.
she got slammed.
Yeah.
And even I look and go, physically she doesn't look fit.
Yeah.
That's just her body.
Yeah.
She's in the friggin' Olympics
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the Commonwealth
Yeah.
Games
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's getting medals. So
Look at the
Yeah.
weightlifters.
What
Yeah.
about that one you posted, the 60
Oh, the guy! Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was
Awesome.
amazing. He's the world's best marathon swimmer. He swum the Ganges,
Oh,
Mississippi
yeah.
River. He's
Oh,
swum
yeah,
for 60
yeah,
days.
yeah.
And he looks like a middle-aged, like, overweight man.
Yeah.
But he's
Yeah.
like a machine.
Yeah.
No one
Yeah.
can figure it out. They're all trying to figure him out. No one
Yeah.
knows what to make of him. They're just like,
Yeah,
this
it's
guy makes no
amazing.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
But it comes down to it is that, would you treat somebody like that?
Yeah. No.
No. So therefore, you
Yeah.
don't deserve to be treated like that. That's
Yeah.
that. I think that's your gauge. Would I treat someone that way?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Hell no. They used to weigh us at dancing and write our weight up on the board.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
oh my god, I can't. I would not eat 2 weeks before weigh-ins because I knew. I was like, oh my god. Oh yeah, we had weigh-ins. They would do pinch tests
Oh, the
on
calipers,
us.
yeah.
They would do.
yeah.
Oh, it was
12.
horrendous. And I was under 12. And I was under 12. And you know what's really funny too? I look back and like, there's no way I can ever get to, like, the amount of training and stuff that we were doing at such a young age. Like, I don't think, of course, when you hit puberty and you stop doing those things, you're gonna put on weight. Like, it's what's gonna, it's turning into a woman kind of too, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was the same thing. You're just.
Yeah.
You're just, and I can remember having meetings. This is hilarious. I remember having meetings with my swim coach. She was Lucy. She was nasty, and like we would be doing like
You're really
dry land-
selling this
we'd be
swimming
doing
thing.
dry land- I know, it was terrible. We'd be doing do dry land before training, so we would have like 2-hour swim sessions and we'd have like dry land before land. And I'm on like sit up number 250 and I was be like, oh, and she's like, yeah, I'd be hurting too at the belly like that. I'm like, I'm 10 years old. I'm 10. I'm 10. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm 10. And we would have weigh-ins but the biggest shame part was in front of everyone. It was a public thing. It was like, get on that scale and praise all the skinny minis that just are lucky to be naturally like that. You know what I mean? And then get up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was
Do
just,
you know what? I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
I was that other child, right?
Yeah.
The swim thing. That had the body, the shape,
yeah,
the big shoulders, the big.
yeah.
It was hard for me too.
Oh yeah.
Because you made an example of.
Oh
Yeah, but then you feel the pressure.
Right? And then I just went,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to train because I don't need to. All these other ones do.
Yeah.
And I still then was the one that was said, okay, you haven't lost 20 pounds, so you're not going in this race. This one that didn't train, she's going on.
Yeah.
You know? So it's hard from both sides.
Yeah.
So parents, teachers, all these people, coaches that have control over kids need to.
Yeah. It's perception.
It is, yeah.
Totally. It's the thing that I've taken from that whole story is from a young age, you were made to feel that it was okay for you to get bullied. So that explains why you speak to yourself the way that you do.
Yeah, that is
So
true.
it's their voice. That's their voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really clear to me now. The voice.
And even
that
the jokes probably too,
yeah,
right?
totally. So you're done with that now.
Yeah.
You can make jokes, but not those
Yeah,
ones
not
about
the-
you.
yeah,
Not at your own
yeah.
expense, please.
Yeah, it's true.
Think about how you would feel if that was your daughter.
I know.
And see,
I
this
know.
is what's like for my daughter. If I think about it, if I talk to my daughter the way I talk to myself,
Yeah.
I would be devastated.
Yeah.
Like, or if anyone spoke to my daughter the way I speak to myself,
Yeah.
I would be absolutely devastated.
Yeah.
And when I start thinking about that, that puts it right in the front of my mind.
Yeah.
So when I start thinking about or telling myself things that I know I shouldn't be saying to myself, I think, well, how would I feel if I thought Mia was actually, because she's 8, so she's in that age group where things are she's starting to get that pressure.
Yeah.
How would
Totally.
I feel if she was talking to herself that way?
Yeah.
Terrible, horrified.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. And I go, well, stop it. Like, stop talking to yourself like that. Stop
Yeah.
talking to your kids like that. You know, we have moments when they push your buttons or whatever, and it really brings it back. And that, if I didn't have my kids to they're very good reflectors.
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah.
totally, especially as they get older, they reflect. Everything that you do and say comes back,
Yeah.
and it's instant.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely instant, and it's a really good tool
Yeah.
to make it come to the front of your mind.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute. If I wouldn't do that for her, why would I do that for myself?
Yeah. Do you know what I write in a book to my daughters, and like, I don't know, when she's older I'm gonna give it to her or whatever. And this past week, I had this moment, I wrote about it and I was looking at her and I was like, I'm scared for the time that you start looking at yourself and hating yourself. Like, she's perfect. Honestly, she's perfect. She's the most perfect baby, and everything about her is perfect. And all I do is look at her and I'm like, I want you to remember this time when you don't even have a thought about your body and you just do whatever you want. And you run down when I'm trying to change you, run away naked and, not even care about anything. And I want to go back and rip that page out of that book because I don't even want her to even, hopefully she'll never get to that point. Hopefully she'll never have that.
She might not. Like, I have massive issues. My eldest, Piper, I don't know whoever's done mermaid classes, she's been there a couple of times. She's been there. Piper's bigger than me. She's probably a size 16.
Yeah.
Walks around home, undies and bra.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to push it because I'm very conscious of not.
Yeah.
They see stuff like with me if I'm binging, like they're the ones
Yeah.
that'll go, Mummy, stop,
Yeah.
stop, and I'm like,
Yeah.
so they kick up on that. But she's totally not like, and that was a massive fear of mine, like of them, like
Yeah.
the girls getting molested and stuff like that. I'm thinking, oh, like automatically I think they're just going to have the same childhood as me.
Yeah.
They won't,
And
she's not your parent.
She's not, I mean, yeah.
She's
Piper's
so
very
confident.
different.
She's very
Yeah.
confident girl. She's awesome.
I'm just
I
scared
love
I'm
Piper.
gonna ruin her.
Yeah.
I'm scared I'm gonna ruin it for
It's
her.
not even you, Virginia. Like, my girl's 6, and she comes home and tells me I need to have a flat stomach because somebody, some other kid says that.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It's horrible.
it's true. They listen to to what we told them, but unfortunately not every
Other people as well. Yeah, that's the thing.
It's not even just
I
with
don't
girls.
deal with it.
Boys.
Yeah.
Angie came home and
Because
said,
I look at her and think,
boy in my
the
class
doctor
said I've got
might
a
say you're
fat
overweight,
face.
you know.
Yeah.
So I just try to present
I had
the
a
healthiest food I can and we
Yeah.
exercise and I try not to even focus on it because
Yeah.
she is beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's really
I had a goal up on I have a vision board at home, and I had the goal at the beginning of probably this year that said lose X amount of weight, right? It said lose 10 kilos or whatever it was. My daughter, who's 8, came to me and she said, "Why do you want to lose 10 kilos?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know, that's just what I want to do." And then she started getting on the scales and saying, and she started monitoring her own weight.
Yeah.
And as soon as that happened, I changed that goal. It now says turn 12 kilos of fat into muscle, right? So it's not a negative connotation for her anymore. But the way that she saw that, the way that she picked up on a negative thing was an immediate eye-opener to me. Like, I just went, oh my God.
They're sponges.
I can't
That's
believe that I've
just-
been and by telling myself to lose weight, I'm actually making it harder for myself. I think because I'm constantly saying lose, but it's not happening. So by turning the thoughts around of losing weight rather than losing weight, it's getting fitter, moving my body for energy and eating for energy rather than whatever else we do it for, has made a big difference. But her getting on the scales and monitoring her own weight at 8 was just devastating.
Yeah, that's
like,
pretty
it was just
upsetting.
Yeah.
I mean, we're finished. We're finished.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. No. It's good. You're not late. This is the first group.
Okay.
Good turn up to this one.
It's yeah, it's
So
pretty.
it's a reflection. I just from that I want people to see that what you especially your daughter's very young.
Yeah.
But as she gets older, she's going to totally reflect back, and that was a big lesson for me, and a massive lesson for me. So, it's just something that it's really opened my eyes because I can see myself better through her eyes than I can through my own.
Yeah.
So just keep.
You're also
it in
doing the
mind.
work now. You know what I mean?
I think
She's
that's
like
why
teeny tiny. How old is
before
she?
when you were telling me, you were talking about feeling like you can't be like that, you need to change, and I think she's been the whole instigation of me feeling that way. Like she's been the one pushing me forward because I'm like when we did that whole visualization, if we don't change, that was the biggest thing. I saw my daughter seeing me hate myself and her hating herself, and it's horrible.
So when you go out to the 3 a.m. chocolate,
Rub it all over.
you can rub it all over your face all you like. Just don't put it in your mouth.
Face mask.
Melt it down.
Yeah.
Do a body wash. I don't know, but just think of that.
Yeah.
So you need to see more pain in having the thing that's going to trip you up than not having it.
Yeah.
Because that piece of chocolate, that is what's going to create that alternate reality that you don't want to happen. So you've got to see it for what it is rather than that little bit of instant gratification.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's the thing that's going to cause you the pain. So start to look at it that way. That will help you shift a lot.
Yeah.
Can you have a drink of water or some nuts instead?
Yeah.
Or a wine.
No, I should have just gone to bed. I was like in exhaustion, like.
You weren't thinking.
No, I wasn't.
I totally
It
understand.
wasn't even nice,
I've
was it?
Oh, the first bite was nice.
Yeah, the first 2 10 versus the other 10.
Thank you, ladies,
Thank you.
so much. It still might just be you